Excellent, not too bad.
After lunch is the... Yes.
I'll take my bag away.
But thank you everybody who is now back from lunch. Hope you enjoyed the lunch. And yeah, thanks a lot. Our next speaker, actually not speaker, but moderator of a panel where we will see different cases about the things we were talking before, is Mrs. Maive Rute. She's the Deputy Director General of DG Joint Research Centre at the European Commission. She has been working for different posts, high-level posts in the Commission, both in the field of research as well as enterprise policy and industry. She's the founder of CREDEX, which is a foundation in Estonia, supporting exporters as well as housing in the housing field. She has first degree in economics from the University of Agriculture in Tartu, or Land University of Tartu, but her later degrees are from Europe, from Austria, Danube University, and MA also in politics from Brussels. And she's claiming to be a visiting research fellow at Harvard Business School. No, Harvard University. Anyway, the floor is yours. Welcome, Maive.
The fact that we signed association agreement with the EU shows how our standards are raised and we are able to produce better products.
In Belarus, there is a highly performed and a highly skilled workforce. Nowadays, Belarus is much more interested in developing and strengthening cooperation with EU countries.
Azerbaijan and European Union, they should work closely to promote free market in Azerbaijan because there are a lot of monopolies here, and by bringing European companies to Azerbaijan we'll be able to boost our economy, and that will be a beneficial situation for both sides.
It would be very important for European Union to invest firstly in transport system. Ukraine is an attractive land for European investment, firstly as a transit land. And with direct investments from the European Union, Ukraine could play a leading role as an economic hub within Eastern Europe.
The free trade agreement, that's a very good thing for Moldova. That also makes the quality of our products better, even the wine.
EU has this vast experience with free trade and, most importantly, justice system. And Armenia really needs both. And if something happens to your business, you want to have a justice system that's like here, that you know it doesn't matter if you're a small business or you're a conglomerate, you have the same chance of winning your case.
So good afternoon once more, and thank you for coming back from a very good and busy lunch break. I'm happy that you have found your way back to the room to join us for a very interesting session this afternoon, where we are going to take a look at what were the various topics covered in the morning, from the high-level political issues covered by Commissioner here, from the EU for Business, from the angle of how the collaboration at a political level is evolving. And then now we, through various topics, come to this one, to the session now where we look at how the entrepreneurs are really taking these opportunities and implementing them. So this session is very much hands-on. We will have an opportunity to see how various entrepreneurs, both in European side as well as our neighboring countries, are turning these great new ideas into new technologies and business opportunities. My name is Maive Rute. I was already introduced before the little clips we saw here. Let me maybe just say one or two words why I have this great honor to moderate this session. As you heard, I work in the European Commission, in the part of the Commission which deals with the research and knowledge for Commission-owned services. So we are the in-house research and knowledge service at the European Commission. But besides helping our policy Directorate Generals to create new European policies, we also work actually, and we extend our helping hand outside. And I'm very happy to mention that with the countries with whom we discuss things here today, there is already ongoing collaboration helping out on some of these challenges which we look. For example, we have between the Joint Research Center of the European Commission and Ukraine, Moldova, and very soon also Georgia, we have ongoing collaboration as to the data-related innovation, and the other side of it is smart specialization. I will say just very shortly what this is about. So as to the data-related innovation, we are working with the land catasters in these countries, helping to build capacity and also look together how these catasters could be really made digital. And the interoperability of data is one of the aspects we work on. And the other important element we work on together with the authorities from Ukraine, Moldova, and soon hopefully also Georgia, has to do with the smart specialization. This is a very, very interesting concept which has really taken root in Europe, where we are looking at the existing capacities of these regions, be it scientific capacity, innovation capacity, and their economic current strengths and weaknesses. And then through modeling, we put together strategies together with authorities of these countries, how to go forward, how to build on the strength, how to overcome shortcomings, and how these regions could be better integrated with the neighbors. And within the European Union, this is very much the basis of our cohesion policy. So now we are also collaborating already with the neighborhood countries to help our neighbors to use the expertise we have and to build the capacities for such economic programming in these countries as well. So that's what brings me here, but besides of it, indeed my own background as a Commission Director for small business, which I did a few years ago and was really a great time in my professional career. So today I'm here moderating the session where we have 5 exciting speakers. We are going to look at 5 business cases. I think the biggest challenge is going to be how do we pack all of it into just 1 hour and a few more minutes in order to also allow you some questions and interaction at the end of the session. So I will introduce one speaker after another. You will then hear their presentations, and then at the end of the panel, we will also come up front here on the podium to allow some interaction and questions from your side. So our first speaker in this panel is going to be Pavlo Haidai, and he comes from Ukraine. He's the head and founder of a company called Avtologistika. And this really is one of those cases where we have somebody passionate for technology, somebody who carries it really as a, almost I would say like as a mission to use the IT skills, to use his very strong mathematics skills to come forward with transformational technologies. And he sees transport and logistics as really the way of connecting us to the future. So he is very active, of course, building up his company. He has turned this company around in the last 14 years, and is now further very much engaged in the field of global data sharing, automotive logistics, optimization, and mobility. And he's going to present us his views on innovative technologies and these solutions, which is, of course, the topic of this session. So, Pavlo, over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, I have one question. Does anybody have a pen? Sorry, I need a pen. May I borrow it for a while? I like this pen. Thank you very much. It's okay. Thank you very much. May I ask you one more question? What has this gentleman just given to me? Was it just a pen? Or something more? Probably it was his trust. Today I would like to speak about trust. Let me put it like this. Do you trust me? Perhaps you do to a certain extent. Indeed, there are no accidental people here. The organizers would hardly let a person who cannot be trusted to the stage. I wish it were like this all around the world. In politics, in our businesses, in all our affairs. If only people had more reasons to trust each other, the world would have changed quickly and inevitably. Start changes from yourself. This is the motto of Maidan, the revolution of dignity that happened in my country. So let me start from myself to build trust. Our company, as well as many others, was built on trust. Back in 2003, I was entrusted to decide the future of the former Soviet road transport company from Kiev. At that moment, company's fleet, technology, business logic, just everything was long outdated. It was just about to collapse. The employees did not trust the board. The board did not trust the employees. Frankly speaking, I have not seen a place with less trust. And when I joined the company, we all had to learn how to trust anew. What I discovered? Trust is contagious. When we had learned how to trust each other, the market and partners started to trust us too. Banks opened credit lines for purchasing equipment and construction of a new modern vehicles compound infrastructure near Kiev. One more thing, we found trustworthy partners among automotive brands. After having won trust of leading auto groups, we make a good use of it. We became the leading company in finished vehicles logistics in Ukraine. And at that moment, we asked ourselves, what turned us from a dying company with a Soviet past into a large specialized trucking company and later into a leading logistics provider? And I believe it wasn't a miracle. It was trust. Trust kept us going during 2008-2010 economic recession, and even during the war, which is still going on in Ukraine. We also learned how to transform trust into a better business environment. We developed a variety of IT solutions that make interaction between participants of the supply chain transparent and simple. And now we are working on the new approaches in the new field that we call neo-logistics. If earlier we optimized some material flows, today we try to optimize non-material things, such as knowledge and experience or potential customers' flow. I believe the world has two options, trust or rust. If there is no trust, everything rusts. And here is the bright example. Let's have a look at transport logistics. We are trying to optimize it since 1980s. However, in most of cases we observe a kind of paradox. Delivery takes more and more time, costs rise, and suppliers become less and less reliable. So how is this possible? The reason is, you guessed my opinion, a lack of trust. Let me show how it works. The dictionary says, logistics is a science of optimization. Logistics allows to obtain best possible result within certain system. And in most of cases, it deals with a system called supply chain. Supply chain combines all flows of raw material and component parts, all flows within production plant, and all flows of finished products. And in the modern world, supply chains are huge, global systems with thousands of flows and suppliers. So, how do we reach optimization in such a big systems? All tools of the supply chain optimization conditionally fall into three categories: logistics architecture tools, processes improvement tools, and price pressure tools. The most powerful tools belong to logistics architecture category. We can reach impressive results by merging or splitting flows, choosing combinations of transport and geographical routes, setting supply technologies, or moving production tasks outside the manufacturer. However, logistics architecture tools have their time limit, something like expiry date. The reason is that all material flows on their way inevitably go through infrastructure hubs, such as ports, railway stations, compounds, and warehouses. And with time, more and more flows concentrate in the hubs we use. And this allows freight owners to cut costs exploiting those infrastructure points. However, what allows us to cut costs chains us at the same time. After many material flows have concentrated in the selected hubs, we lose the possibility to redirect and change routing. We become chained. With time, hub by hub, we lose possibility to rebuild our logistics architecture. In 10-15 years, logistics architecture of our supply chain becomes frozen, and possibilities to change it are very little. When we have taken advantage of the architectural optimization, we move forward to improve processes. I believe that improvement of processes is a very strong optimization tool. What does it mean to improve processes from optimization perspective? It means to get rid of everything waste. Waste delays and actions, waste staff and documents, waste losses in quality, and so on. Getting rid of the waste requires lasting efforts from all participants of the transport logistics system. All suppliers need to adapt their processes to the requirements of the supply chain they are servicing. Surely, such kind of adaptation takes time. That is why those suppliers who work in the framework of our supply chain longer usually perform better and use less resources than newcomers. Unfortunately, process improvement also hits its practical bottom. Soon enough, we reach a moment when each next step requires from us unreasonably high investments. And when this moment is reached, the only optimization tool remains is the price pressure. In the modern world, with its open access to information, with Google and thousands of tendering platforms, it's very easy to impose the price pressure. We can always find a supplier who offers a better price. However, price pressure has a negative side. We cannot stop. We constantly put pressure on prices, and sooner or later, this pressure unescapably will make our suppliers leave. We will lose those suppliers who have adapted their businesses to the requirements of our supply chain. We lose those suppliers who helped us to improve processes and reduce resources consumption. Old suppliers replaced by new ones who knows nothing about our supply chain and only start adaptation of their businesses to its demands. Naturally, in such situation, we lose all experience in processes improvement accumulated with old suppliers. As a result, on the next stage of the supply chain evolution, our logistics costs skyrocket. In other words, when our logistics architecture becomes frozen, the supply chain does not ensure any optimization in the long run, but rather maintains certain average level of costs in the system. It seems I haven't spoken about trust for a while. Why has the world got stuck at the supply chain horizon? The answer is very simple. The supply chain is the largest scale of the system a single party is able to control. We are used to controlling everything. We are used to competing with everyone. That is why we're still living in the world where trust has not become a common currency yet. What solution do we suggest? We suggest we learn how to trust and to go beyond the supply chain limits. What should we start with? We need to switch from competition of prices to competition of logistics architectures. Let's face it. Today, supply chain has a limited capacity for optimization, and price is the main factor for supplier selection. But in open logistics system, what limited us earlier becomes an advantage now. In open logistics systems, any segment of our supply chain becomes a component of other, bigger architectures. And we can benefit much more from merging flows of different freight owners into the locked architectures than from the price pressure within our supply chain. How big should this open logistics system be? We found that the bigger is the scale of the system, the more different options of locked architectures can be created, and the broader optimization opportunities are. So, we need to develop an open global logistics system. We need to solve the problem at the maximum scale. We need to develop supply net instead of the supply chain. We also need to create a new business environment based on a new kind of trust. Trust guaranteed by values, rules, and the technological platform. How can we join efforts in creating of such kind of environment? It's very easy. We need to learn how to compete and collaborate at the same time. This concept is called co-opetition, and it is the essence of sharing economy. We also need to learn how to create temporary business coalitions. Freight owners need to learn how to team up in order to merge their flows into locked architectures. And logistics providers need to learn how to create business coalitions to serve those locked architectures. In order to create business coalitions, we need to organize informational flows between its participants. For this purpose, we need a special tool. We call it data sharing system. A distributed data sharing system based on the blockchain technology. An IT system which is not controlled by a single party. And applying all this, we come to the new environment, new business environment based on trust. We call it supply net, which is open logistics system tending to globality, whose participants follow the competition concept and join temporary business coalitions, and where all participants are united on the platform of the distributed blockchain data sharing system. So, speaking about benefits, what do we get having created supply net? What do we get replacing distrust with trust? The supply net potentially offers an ultimate level of optimization, which is unattainable in the supply chain. We can reach such level of optimization with the help of the new tools, which never existed in the framework of the supply chain. What are these tools? First, dynamic architecture, a capability to create locked architectures within supply net. Second, sharing of everything concept. Sharing is the essence of the supply net. Third one, big data values. Collaboration within supply net will let us to create big data in transport logistics and make a good use of its values. And finally, the open software market. The supply net will provide software developers with an access to the global logistics market. As a result, we shall get a variety of IT solutions for logistics. What should we expect? The essence of competition will change. It will cease to be about price only. Merging, uniting, and collaborating to be the essence of new relations within transport logistics. What to do next? One military code of conduct says, when two officers of the same rank meet, the first one to render the salute is the smartest one. So, who will take the lead in the new global thinking? Who will break this distrust-roosted cycle? Who will start construction of the supply net in global logistics? I believe those pioneers who has that capital of trust and ready to share it with others are among us. Today, the future of logistics is in our hands. Thank you for your attention. And sorry, I would like to say thank you for your pen. And thank you for your trust.
Paolo, thank you very much. Thank you. What an insightful, visionary overview how the logistics is changing, and of course your words went far beyond just logistics, illustrating in fact how the new thinking is really reshaping the way we do business, and how the trust can be built on the new blockchain technologies, distributed systems instead of having centralized systems controlled from the center only. And I think one element, Pavlo, which you did not mention, but which of course comes with these centralized systems based on technology, is very much about the opportunity of the customers to give very quick feedback. And what we see now is these platform-based applications, be it the new applications allowing us as travelers to give other travelers some good advice where to stay or where to eat. So this type of new platform-based applications with quick feedback systems, they really help build this trust, because then you also, it's not only kind of a naive trust, it's really based on the experience made by many other consumers or customers. So thank you very much for this very insightful presentation. Our next speaker comes from Germany. We have Mr. Bernhard Zurmann, who is the managing director of a company named Miprotec GmbH. And Miprotec is a middle-sized company in Germany which is providing individualized automation solutions, integrating engineering, software, cabling solutions, assembly lines, and putting it all together for customers throughout the world. He has 25 years of experience in the ICT sector, last 17 or so being a manager, and he is indeed one of those people who can tell us from the practitioner side what this famous Industrie 4.0 actually means. So this Industry 4.0, what it actually is. And I would be very happy to hear from you, Mr. Zurmann, how it works.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad that I can be here. When I was asked to do this presentation, the main point was to make sure that manager or responsible people in production systems are not afraid for the future. As the lady said, I have 17 years experience in managing systems, but this is also, I have 17 years of experience in speaking with responsible people, and the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of them are very afraid about the future. Of course, not everybody has the brain to develop such things like Pavel had explained just. To our company. Our company has been founded in 1983, and at the time we are working with 75 people to make automation solutions, and we distribute them all over the world. So we can say all the themes which we had spoken about in the morning is for us an infrastructure. If we build a cabinet, we put it to a car, and then when we meet the cabinet again, it is, for example, in Rio de Janeiro or in Malaysia or in Russia. Those companies like ours are normally only a service system. That will say the customer comes to us and then he says, I want to have this, I want to do this, or something like this. The last years, but they say they want to have Industry 4.0. And then we can ask, what is Industry 4.0 in your business? And normally, the people which are giving the order to us also don't know it. Of course, our company and the most of service organizations all over the world are Industrial 3.0. Why? look to the history, Industrial 1.0 was when steam and water made the work for the people. Then 2.0 was the optimization of processes. The most famous point is, for example, Mr. Ford. 3.0 was the digital revolution. We had actuators, we had sensors, we had intelligence, and we had administrations and technical systems. Now people are speaking about 4.0, but what's it? First of all, it is 3.0 and additional dynamic, velocity, transparency, security, probably trust, and of course the internet. And companies which are managed by normal educated engineers or administration specialists, they can think about 3.0. Of course, it is able to see a personal computer. You see a line or you see an internet connection, but then it's all. You never will see 4.0. The problem increases dramatically if you see how the way was in the administration to 4.0. First of all, we had the material requirement procedure systems. They were, when they had finished, we came in the area of the enterprise resource planning. This is 20 or 25 years ago. That was the first time when material and capacity was planned at the same time. The most famous product all over the world, of course, is SAP. But what is an enterprise resource planning system? You have all things very fast in your own company, but what's about your customer and what's about your suppliers? You have to integrate them. This was done by electronic data exchange systems, and the most famous one was ADET or VDA. These have been systems which had been created and which had been promoted by the car manufacturers. And then the area of manufacturing execution systems came, and then again the internet system with the B2B and B2C. When I started to work in a big software company, it was in Berlin, located at the end of the 19th of the last century. There the chief of the board said it will never be able to make a business by internet. This is not 20 years ago. And this was the chief of the biggest German, third biggest German software company. Today we are speaking about normal systems like Open Factory. Open Factory is a very famous platform for medium-sized companies in Germany. There you can order and you can buy things like by Amazon, but it is a business platform. And so we have virtual markets and dynamic markets. You have sometimes only a few weeks for changing your production systems, for meeting the targets of your big customers. And if you cannot manage it, then your competitor from a completely other country probably can do it. So that the future can say, if you have dynamic virtual markets, yesterday I learned you have probably real estate and virtual owners, or you have virtual systems and real owners. This was also quite new for me. And there came Mrs. Merkel. Of course, she was the lady who made Industrial 4.0. Normally, sales conversation with our customers starts that the customer asks me, can I buy a little bit of 4.0? No, it is not possible. Of course, 4.0 is only a word spoken by Mrs. Merkel. It's just the same as America First or Yes, We Can. She wanted to wake up all responsible people in the industrial companies, in production companies, and in service organization. And she asked them, you have to wake up, otherwise Asian or East European companies will do the job for you, and your very expensive production system is not still needed. So the problem and the mindset is that we have a promotion of these systems, but nobody speaks about it. And nobody helps you, just a medium-sized company, how you can solve the problems of the future. But the opportunity is that it is not a new technology. It is old. The most things which are used are technical, from the technical point of view, old, but they have new algorithms programmed, or they have new ideas. And ideas is the core competence of managing people, in my opinion. So you are, each of you who is responsible for a system, a production or an administration, is Industry 4.0. And so if you say that you are afraid for the future, then it is another point of view. If you say, I'm not trusting myself for making new processes. That's all. And if you want to hear some examples, for example, if you buy a wheel for your car for the winter in Germany, then you order it in the internet, you give a small, medium-sized company, there you send it to a fuel station or something like this, then the wheels are delivered to this fuel station, you bring your car, and when you get the car back, you have your new wheels. Or if you want to have a heating system in Germany, then you ask the installation specialist, I want to have a new heating system. And then he says, yes, no problem. I have my iPhone. And then you are looking in the internet. You cannot buy it at the installation man. You can buy it in the internet, and he does only the installation for you. Solar panels is probably a not good example, but CW. Everybody in Germany who is older than 35 years knows CW. Of course, this was the company where you get a picture. Yes, old people know these films, yes, in an analog camera. You send this film to CW and you got back a picture. A few years ago, they recognized that they have economic problems. And so they decided we want to do new things. The old people in the production, they said, we will never do other things than making pictures. The board said, yes, we will do it, but we will have a small 5 people engaging company for making ideas for new systems. Only 4 years later, the daughter bought the mother. And now CW is a multi-electronic cloud company where you can order a book, and with a QR code you can look a film which is integrated in a book. And this system is only 8 years or 9 years old when they started with it. So time is changing, but the technology was old. They are storing the photos and the informations on a hard disk, and a hard disk is more than 30 years old. Very often we are asked for the costs about Industry 4.0 products. And then they ask what I have to buy for a server, what I have to buy for software. This all is not Industry 4.0. This is basic. Of course, food is no dinner. And if you want to buy a new hardware or a new software or a new manufacturing execution system or an automation solution, then it is necessary for your process. But if you want to use these systems in a modern way, then you have to think about the processes which you have to do for using these systems in a profitable way. So the main costs for such a project is to speak about the organization. What Pavel told here was not found out in an afternoon with a cup of coffee. It was an expensive project for speaking with specialists and his own brain. So this is an example for 4.0, and now unfortunately my time has passed, and I thank you a lot for your attendance.
Great, thanks for this very insightful overview and giving us hope that even if we are not all computer geeks, we still have space in this future which is going to be all digitalized and very smart with sensors and automated solutions. And I very much liked what you said, that we already live these times, and it really takes not only the top technology, it takes processes, people, putting it together in the intelligent organization, and then we can move forward towards the Industry 4.0, which, although it's a catchword, but it's a nice way of putting it, I think. So thank you very much for this overview. From here we now move to Belarus. We have with us Mr. Valery Tsepkalo, who is a Belarusian diplomat, but also executive. And he is the founder of Belarus High-Tech Park, which is really one of the largest in this part of the world, a very successful endeavor. And I would also like to highlight that Mr. Tsepkalo has actually been ambassador to the United States and also to the Mexican states from 1997 until 2002. And then from 2005 to 2017, he has put his energy to bring the Belarus High-Tech Park to really a leading endeavor in this part, as I said already. He has a doctorate degree in international law and is ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary. So we are honored to have you here today. Tell us a bit about this emerging Silicon Valley of Eastern Europe. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hyvää päivää, hyvät ystävät. Valitettavasti en voi puhua eestiä, mutta ymmärrän, että eestilaisia ymmärtävät suomen kieltä aika hyvin. I started actually speak Finnish not by chance, because I definitely started my diplomatic career in Finland, and I know that Finnish people and Estonian people are very close to each other, and Estonians definitely understand Finnish language and vice versa. But, you know, just when I worked with the Soviet embassy, I started actually my career with the Soviet embassy at that time in Finland, I was the witness of the rise of Nokia company. Then I was actually also a witness how Nokia was on the top of the world in mobile telecommunication. And then definitely we all know about the decline of this company. It means that, you know, you have to put all your strength and energy in order to survive in this competitive world. And nothing is given by granted. You should actually invest your time, you should invest your energy, you should invest your mentality, if you wish, actually in any project if you would like it to be successful. When I was in Finland, I spoke actually with the vice president of Nokia company, and I asked him about the major competitive advantage of Finnish IT industry that at that time was actually very, very successful. And he asked me, and he answered me, look, the major advantage is the weather. The weather that keeps us inside building and prompted us to work hard and not to enjoy, like, for instance, if we would be living in Cyprus, what we would be doing now. You know, and the weather actually keeps you here also, and definitely it helps actually Estonia also to start its IT development from creating the biggest success story, maybe one of the biggest success story in the region, creating Skype. And actually in Estonia appeared to be lucky because it was a big stimulus for Estonian young people to move to IT industry because they saw the success story of the developers of Skype. In Belarus, we understood pretty well one thing, that we didn't have any success stories. We didn't have an example of a success built from the scratch, built from nothing. Because our experience was based, you know, on the state-run companies, and state-run companies actually also in IT sphere, also in IT segment. But state-run companies cannot innovate because the managers of state-run companies, they do not have a chance to risk. Because, you know, just if they would launch, let's say, 5 projects, and 4 of them would not be, or 4 of them would be successful, and 1 would not be successful, then just he will be facing really big problems with his enforcement agencies that should look at the use of state money, of state finances. So we understood it at that time, and we thought that it would be necessary to inject in Belarus society the culture of risk. And we created a high-tech park, and at that time, actually, when we created it in 2006, at that time, the whole Belarus export of IT services was 14 or 16 million US dollars. Last year, Belarus IT industry reached 1 billion in terms of export. And one of the successes, actually, of it was because Belarus IT industry, unlike other industries of the country that were oriented mostly on the countries of the former Soviet Union, they were focused on the United States and European market. If you look at the structure of our export, it appears to be 45% approximately goes to American market, 45 approximately percent goes to the market of the European Union, and 10% only goes to the market of the CIS countries and also inside Belarus. So it was export-oriented industry, and the industry that was highly and is highly integrated into the European and American market. And definitely, if you work on this market, actually it's easier for you to feel yourself comfortable also inside your own country. So failure is important. That's actually, you see in the presentation, started from Henry Ford. And yeah, well, actually the, okay. And here is quite an interesting slide. You may look at this guy, and he is Mehmed II the Conqueror. And just why, actually, what is he doing when we are discussing the European integration, when we are discussing Eastern Partnership? Actually, it's a fun story. He demonstrated that it doesn't matter where technology appears. The most important thing is to create a special environment that could be sensitive to adapt technologies whenever they appear in the world. At that time, just it was Constantinople, and the emperor of Byzantium Empire, Tsar Constantine, just one of the Hungarian inventor, he came and said, look, just I made a new type of cannon, just that would help you to protect the walls of Constantinople. And, and the Tsar, he said, go away, just I don't want to talk to you because you are a crazy inventor. And what he did, he went then to Mehmed II and said, look, just I have an idea of creating a big, good cannon. And he said, wow, that's a great idea. I like it. Let me actually do it. And they created the great Turkish bombarder that actually shut down the walls of Constantinople, and they conquered actually this city, and they destroyed the Byzantium Empire. So the lesson that we have to learn is how to create a sensitive environment that would nurture innovations. And innovation, again, it does mean that you should create technology. Innovation means that, just you can adapt, you can learn, you can accept the technology wherever they appear, either in the United States, in Europe, or somewhere else in Asia. Here, the slide that demonstrates actually this combination between the technology, education, and industry. So this is quite an interesting thing, because, just when you are thinking about what are the 3 major pillars of Belarus success, of the success of Belarus IT industry, there are actually 3 main pillars. The first pillar is education. And it's quite understandable because Belarus, like other countries of the Eastern Partnership, they do not have enough resources. We do not have oil, we do not have gas, we do not have color and black minerals, metals, and so on and so forth. So education is the thing that we can actually rely on in the competitive world. The second pillar is also education. Well, and the reason is that, again, we do not have oil, we do not have gas, we do not have other natural resources that, for instance, can be, that Russia economy could be nurtured. And you can easily guess what is the third pillar. Again, Estonia, Belarus, some other countries, Finland also, we appear to be lucky that we entered this business 10 years ago. 10 years ago, just imagine, there were no mobile phones, you know, just computers were very, very expensive. But anyway, this was the only sector where we could compete with, let's say, Germany, because, you know, just in Germany, we definitely know that it's a good technology, automobile technology, automobile industry, pharmaceutical industry. But in order to enter to automobile business, you know, you need a lot of investment. You need really a lot of money, you know, just in order to enter the world market in automobile industry. We know within the past 25 years that only Korea was able to enter this market on the global scale. But in IT business, it was much more easier because, you know, just the only thing that you need just as a personal computer, and you are technologically equipped on the same level as Germany, as Great Britain, as the United States of America, and the only thing that you should compete is only with your brains. But we also understand that it's a trend now going on in mobilizing and consolidation of the industry. So we know that more and more big players actually are taking place in this game, and they are looking very carefully on what is going on in IT industry. For instance, you know, just the funny slide that shows that, you know, in before Henry Ford started his mass production of automobiles, do you know how many companies produced automobiles in the United States? Well, just try to guess. No, 1,500 companies, they manufactured automobiles in the United States. I do not know the figures in Europe, but I think that if we consider Germany, Italy, Great Britain, and France, well, I guess that it was approximately the same number of the companies that were manufacturing automobiles in the whole Europe. So we had at that time 3,000 approximately companies that were manufacturing. Then after a while, now we have 10, maybe 15 companies that actually can compete on a global scale, on a global level. The same actually happens with pharmaceutical industry, and actually the same thing actually is taking place in IT industry. I think that we have maybe 5, maybe 10 years ahead until we will see a consolidation of this industry also. For instance, you know, just when I started to do IT business, you know, just I remember there were many search engines, about 25 search engines, and now we all know that it's only Google. And approximately 5 years ago, I was in the United States, I was watching CNBC channel, and they showed a new and very interesting startup called Bleka, and Bleka raised 35 million. It was just a startup raising 35 million because they thought that they could challenge actually Google in search engines. After 5 years, after 2-3 years, they raised another portion of money. I'm not certain about how much, but in 5 years they decided to close it because, you know, just it's very, very hard now to challenge the companies like Google, like Facebook, because these companies actually now can control the internet business. What is also important is that, just we face the change in technologies. Like there used to be the companies, as you see, AT&T, Verizon, Bell Atlantic. Then, just internet providers appeared to be, and content, actually, the providers of content, they were nobody. But now they use from America Online, from CenturyLink, Skype, Viber, WhatsApp appeared to be cool. We don't know from the side of technology what would happen soon, because just technologically you should be very, very competitive, and it's very hard to predict. For instance, if we are talking about Nokia, Nokia was still a technological company, but just once they lost the position, and Nokia now is not in a very good shape. The same actually with Sony. Like 10 years ago, you all remember that, Sony was on the top of the consumer market. Just everywhere you go, they were Sony, Sony, Sony. Now, it's very hard to see this brand actually around us. And now Apple and Samsung. What will be the next? It's hard to say. But I think that the companies that will survive, and that what we should concentrate on, is content. We are living really in the gold age of content. And just the companies like Facebook, they do not produce content by themselves, but they are the biggest generator. YouTube, Google, these companies will definitely survive. Wikipedia also, if we would look in 10 years. And what actually my main message is that we should be thinking about now how to develop, how to build success stories. And by the way, actually, Belarus developed several success stories inside High-Tech Park. The World of Tanks, probably, you had this game. There are many other companies like EPAM, eTransition, IBMs. These are actually service companies that we started our high-tech park from. Then we moved to some products like Viber. It's similar as Skype, and I think that most of you definitely know it. Only maybe the officials from the European Commission, they don't care about the cost of the call, so, just maybe you don't care about Viber, WhatsApp, but the rest of the people, they do. So there are a lot of good exits, actually, that we started to develop our own products. And I think, again, just in maybe a couple of years, 5, maximum 10 years, this is my perspective, we should make our IT industry mature, because after that, it will be the same difficult market to enter as the market of automobile industry, as pharmaceuticals, as even construction market, as many industries that we now have. Thank you.
Thank you. What a tour of the world, how the industries are changing and what's happening on the landscape of various IT-based industries as well. You at least gave all of us some hope that based on 3 pillars, education, 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 all countries still have an opportunity to get into this race and build the businesses in this new digital brave world. Our next speaker comes from Ireland. We have Mr. Andrew Lynch, I should actually pronounce it. Sorry, still thinking of lunch. And he's the Chief Innovation Officer of Irish Manufacturing Research. And you have been in this field for many years, so 20 years in the manufacturing sector on different roles as a owner, manager, consultant, senior manager, researcher, and now more and more also engaged in the policy-making scale of things, so engaged in Ireland on national level in the steering committees, on cobotics, for example, but also being a delegate to various European level fora where manufacturing policy issues are debated. So from you, we would very much like to hear what you tell us about the knowledge and the tacit knowledge people have and how it all fits to the new innovative technologies and these solutions. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maeve. Appreciate that. Thank you. I am deeply honoured and humbled to be asked to speak at this forum today. I am from Ireland. I have to think of my colleague down here who is translating my Irish accent into Russian at the moment. I wish her the best of luck. I have 8 minutes to speak, and I have so much to tell you, and when I get excited, I speak much quicker. So I hope my moderator will look at me and make sure that I don't do this. You have a wonderful, wonderful country here in Estonia. I think what you're doing in Eastern Europe is incredible. It was, as I said, humbling to see what you're doing politically here, and I think reaching out and speaking to your neighbours is something that we in Ireland could certainly learn from. You are a group of countries on the eastern edge of Europe. We are a small country on the western edge of Europe. I think there's a lot of interest at the moment in Brexit, for example, so we are in and out of Europe similar to yourselves, and we will need to open those dialogues and continue those conversations. So manufacturing in Ireland is very important. So you're used to seeing manufacturing, you're used to seeing Ireland as being this beautiful green isle with fishing and I guess abseiling and surfing and all these wonderful things that you can do in Ireland. But manufacturing is a massive part of our world. 33% of our GDP comes from manufacturing, which is a huge number when you consider it. 12% of our entire employment is directly in manufacturing. And we have a very interesting story to say in a general sense. No other country in the world exports more ICT product than we do. We're the second largest exporter of medical device product. 60% of hips and knees joints that are made on the planet are made in Ireland. 30% of contact lenses are made in Ireland. So it's a very interesting dynamic that you've got, because we are a larger high-cost economy, if you like. You hear this a lot, that how can we continue to compete against the likes of yourselves and China and so on as we move forward. So it is, I was very interested to hear Herr Schumann's commentary around Industry 4.0, because it's a very major element and challenge that we have. So just to give you an idea of my own group, for example, so I sit on the National Industry 4.0 Committee, which is a very high-level group indeed. So, for example, Johnson & Johnson, you can see some of the companies down here. Now, Ireland, as you know, has quite a strong record in foreign direct investment from America. We are often seen to be a step for American corporations into Europe. We speak English. America and Ireland has a lot of history together and so on from famine times. So, for example, the Director of Automation worldwide for Johnson & Johnson sits on that board. The IIoT Global Lead for Ericsson sits on that board. Who else can I say? So there's quite a lot of very senior executives. Yeah. The Intel European Lead for Europe sits on that board. So it's a high-level group which comes together, a little bit like Herr Schumann was saying, what do we need to do to practically engage with Industry 4.0? You can't buy it, you can't get the sticker, you can't ask someone for a little bit of it. You need to have an approach at a national level. And we're being led, as always, in this from our German colleagues. The National Steering Committee on Cobotics. I personally chair this group. So this is looking at effective ways of bringing cobots into your organization. So, for example, there's a lovely photograph that you see from the 1920s. We've heard a lot about Henry Ford earlier on. There's a lovely photograph of the 1900s of a man walking in front of a car with a flag. And it was law at the time where if you had an automobile, you needed to have someone walking in front of the car waving a flag. Collaborative robots are in a similar position at the moment, certainly in Ireland, from a regulatory and health and safety perspective. They're dealt with under the standard as a robot, and therefore would need the health and safety and caging that a robot would need. So we need to overcome these practical aspects before we can delve deeper into the really good research that the European Union is doing in collaborative robotics. Additive manufacturing. Yes, we're here. Good. This is the largest IPP in Ireland on additive manufacturing. Again, looking at 3D printing. What are the areas that 3D printing can impact right now that makes an impact on the floor? Data analytics. I get my time here. I'm running out of time. So data analytics. Come on, baby. Here we go. Data analytics is a challenge for every manufacturing site. Multinationals get this. Small to medium-sized enterprises find this very, very difficult to engage with. And part of our remit here with the large and small companies that you see on the screen is how do we graft that learning out of the multinationals and into the industries. I think we could learn a lot from the Estonian government, for example, and how you run your agency. And again, in industrial energy efficiencies, and you could see the interest from companies on that. At a European level, I think it's important maybe just to acknowledge at the moment the impact that Europe has had here on Ireland. For example, I4MS, there's a digitalisation hub in Ireland which we run. I am the national coordinator for AIM KIC, for example. I sit on the board of directors at a European level for AM Smart, member of EFRA. I'm a member of the high-level group in manufacturing for ManuFuture. I say all these things to make sure that you understand that I'm incredibly important, and I hope you'll appreciate that. Okay, just one little piece of technology that I want to take you through, if I can, on tacit knowledge. When all these large companies and small companies come together and they want to do a piece of research with one another, we can't talk to Intel about the Intel chip. They don't want to speak to us about that. Or Johnson & Johnson about some of the electronics that they're doing. Or the medical device corporations. You need to look at areas that are common to each of the partners. For example, energy efficiency, as we mentioned earlier on. Or optimization of your scheduling system, as an example. Or in this case, tacit knowledge. A worker in your plant, 30% of the knowledge that he or she has is explicit. That which you train them in. That which is in the SOPs. That which is there on floors that you can see in posters and so on. That's all. The other 70% is learned. That's the knowledge that they have that they've picked up. How do you make sure that that knowledge is yours from a company perspective and that you can build on that? And how can you ensure that when or if a person leaves you, that they don't take that knowledge with them? And that's the challenge here that you see all these companies engaged with, looking at the cognitive steps that you need to take and the physical and practical steps that you need to take to be able to capture and execute on that knowledge. So we built this on 180 different platform componentries. This will speak to JD Edwards or SAP or single systems that are bespoke in multinationals and small to medium-sized enterprises anywhere on the planet. There's 800 man-hours from one Pfizer plant alone gone into this technology. It is running worldwide on 3 of these corporations, not just in an Irish context. So this is a really nice success story at a very practical level, which has overcome things like FDA, for example. How can you have information on a highly regulated plant which doesn't come under the FDA Regulatory Advisory Board? How do you overcome those steps? So there's a lot of information, a lot of work gone in a very practical level to overcome these and to get benefit from it. So you can see here it's a mobile platform. It's very simple to share and to see what you've got on this. But if you think of my youngest daughter leaving the house and she's got an iPhone, her connectivity is far superior to most workers. If you look at me changing anything from a light bulb to a carburetor in my car, I don't read the manual. I go on YouTube and some kid in China or Russia or in Ireland will tell me how it's done. That's how the worker's reacting now. If I look at some piece of information that's been put up on this, it will suggest other pieces of information that might be relevant to the machine that I'm working on, for example, in the same way that Amazon does. When you buy a book, they suggest other books that you might like to see. So if you look at YouTube and the ease at which you can get information, and Facebook, the ease at which you can connect, these are things that are quite similar in terms of how this is set up. You can upload with single clicking. There's a screen that scrolls across the bottom. This has been tested and trialed in all of these companies to make sure that it works and that it's user-friendly, that it's intuitive. My 14-year-old daughter could use this quite easily cognitively, and that's the way it's set up. It defaults to intuitive history. It looks at recommended aligns so that the information that goes up on that system is regulated. It can't be just anything. However, the most popular videos are put up to the top, and again, you're not typing. It speaks 14 different languages. It sits on all platforms that you can see, from PDF to Excel to spreadsheets to videos to any of those. QR code, of course, it looks at and operates against that. So if you come up to a machine, it immediately clicks and you can see what it's done. This is the page I hope you won't ask me any questions on, because I'm not particularly technical in any of this. But this is the specification that something like this would be able to put in. It's easy. And the good news is we are looking for more early adopters. As I said, we're running this out of Ireland at the moment. If you have a manufacturing plant anywhere in this region and you'd like to discuss it with me, please contact me at andrew.lynch info@imr.ie. I just want to say one thing. I know I'm a little bit over time, but I'm not going to. I'm much more interesting than the other guys, so you'll forgive me. My youngest daughter, when she was about 5 years of age, was learning the capitals of all these nations in this region. She was finding it difficult, but she never found the capital of Estonia difficult. She knew it was Tallinn always. And I said to her, "How come you know that the Estonian capital is Tallinn?" And she said, "In my mind, I think that Estonian people are talented." And she connected that. So I can't wait to go back to tell her you're very talented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, the Estonians seem to think that Tallinn comes from a different origin, but I think it's a good story. I like your daughter. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking us through some of the work you do in Ireland, and impressive to see the capacity of manufacturing there. And I hope that your call for collaboration has really resonated with some people in the room here. We have now had interesting case studies from Ukraine, from Belarus, then we went to Germany, we now heard from Ireland. But I think you all sense that we are entering times where we are a bit losing on these borders. We are becoming really cross-border and perhaps even already global citizens. So the next speaker will present to us a very exciting new initiative where we are building a transnational digital identity platform for the world. So it's the digital country e-residency for global citizens, built on inclusion, transparency and legitimacy. So we have here Kaspar Korjus, who is the managing director of e-residency, and he is also a very well-known digital leader. So among the 20 global leaders or so in digital matters. So very welcome, Kaspar, floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, hi, my name is Kaspar, and I'm running e-residency, which I started 3 years ago. Anyone here e-resident? Raise your hand. Oh, we have 5, 6 e-residents. E-residency gives everyone around the world an opportunity to run remotely the EU company. You get the same smart ID card as Estonians have, and you can establish company, bank account, and run that remotely through e-residence. And this is what I'm going to introduce you for the next few minutes, if you allow me to. This is the beautiful picture of Estonia. If some countries introduce their nations, they will show the picture of nations or beautiful women. I'll show this picture. This is a screenshot of our data exchange, what is taking place in Estonia every day. Data is exchanging between government and private sector entities, allowing fully automated nation. All our services, because of this, are digital. For example, we can declare taxes online, e-prescriptions, e-healthcare, e-school, e-police, you name it. This has been there for the last 15 years, and now we are taking this for granted. For example, last week we had elections. I was voting in Estonian elections while I wasn't in Estonia. If you want to check your healthcare records, you log into the system, you can see who has checked your data, who has changed them and what they have done, and you can get e-prescriptions, for example. So this works. What we did 3 years ago, we asked one critical question. Why should we offer those services only to Estonians? Why can't we offer those services to everyone, to you? Why? And the decision was that let's become a borderless nation. Like, we do have borders physically, but let's become a borderless nation so that every person on a planet can become our digital citizen. So you can apply digital citizenship, you get the e-residency card, and you can enter to the same network which Estonians are using. When we launched that 3 years ago, the very first service what e-residents desired was the business environment. And we have this box here also later, where we have some colleagues from my team who will help you to guide through, and you can even apply e-residency here. What's the process and what can you do? But in theory, what e-residents do is they establish a company in Estonia within a few minutes. They establish a banking account. They then do PayPal account, for example, if this is not allowed in your home country. And they build some e-commerce websites and then they start running that company remotely while still living in your home country. And this is the magic. You can like put up this company within a day, and the administration costs are basically quite zero. And of course, you can imagine this has been quite attractive. So attractive that we even did a 1-minute video about what is e-residency. So I'll show you that 1-minute video.
Our new digital world knows no borders, and great business ideas are no longer limited by where you work or live. E-Estonia is a digital nation for global citizens, for those who've thrown off the shackles of national boundaries. Literally anyone in the world can apply. E-residency is legitimate and transparent. A government-issued digital identity that gives you the freedom to run a global EU company online from anywhere in the world. Establish a company within a day. Access business banking. Use international payment providers. Digitally sign documents and contracts, and declare Estonian taxes online. We're Estonia. Tech is our expertise. And through e-residency, we are empowering entrepreneurs everywhere. No matter where you were born, no matter what passport you carry, you can apply. Use e-residency to run your business from anywhere in the world. Unleash your entrepreneurial potential, because no business should be bound by physical borders. Apply for e-residency today and join our new digital nation. e-resident.gov.ee.
Thank you. Since launched a few years ago, we have over 25,000 e-residents from most of the countries internationally. And number one thing is then establishing companies, and this graph shows how many companies have been established. When 2 years ago we had 50 companies per month. Last year we had 90, then last month we had over 200 companies per month, so it's quite exponential growth. What people do, let's say that you're from Ukraine, today you can't accept PayPal payments, you can't do international commerce. You become e-resident to establish company, establish bank account, you establish PayPal account, and remotely you can access all the virtual payments and run your company online. This is one of the main benefits. Second, of course, access to the EU market, which is a great opportunity, being part of EU business market, and also remotely giving you location independence. And what we see as Estonian government is that there will be a whole new set of people in the world who need global nation. We see that there will be millions and millions of people internationally who are traveling all around the world, who don't recognize themselves with only one nation, who are working in different nations, their teams are from different nations, and this e-residency and location dependence is necessary for them to run their companies. And this is what we are building our nation for. But of course, everyone can apply. Taxation is usually paid in their home countries, so that we are not the evil offshore nation. We are a good nation who offers transparent system, and we are sharing the tax information. For example, last week I came from Turkey. I asked a woman why she is EU-resident, and she told me that she now can access EU payments for her tourism company, and she still has Turkish company, so she eventually pays using the EU company, which gets all the transactions, pays those directly to her Turkish company, and then eventually paying all the taxes in Turkey. She gets social tax, income tax, everything there. And these are the platform schemes which enable to empower your nations so that your citizens can actually earn more revenues in their countries, do global business, pay taxes in your own countries, and getting access to the same financial tools. I'll show you one more 1-minute video, the very last one, which shows those 5-6 different use cases of why people today use e-residency.
While some countries push people away, Estonia pulls them in. What kind of problems can e-residency solve for an entrepreneur? Say you're a freelance writer in Ukraine and you need to receive international payments. E-residency enables it. Or maybe you run a startup in India and need access to cross-border capital to help scale internationally. E-residency allows it. What if you're a digital nomad or expat and want to run your company after you move to a different country? E-residency is the answer. You might be outside the EU, but want a trusted company registered inside the world's largest single market. E-residency can make it happen. Or if you're already an EU citizen, but you want to lower the cost and hassle of administrating your company, e-residency makes that possible. Maybe you have multiple board members all over the world. E-residency means board decisions and contracts can be legally approved online instantly. Whatever your nationality, whatever your situation, applying for e-residency is the best way to run a global EU company fully online with minimal cost and hassle. Apply for e-residency today and join our new digital nation.
And there are two business cases here for you. One is, of course, if you know people who need this environment. But second is that all of those e-residents need services from you. They need business services, accountancy services, financial services, legal services. And we need partners from all of your markets. So in our website, when you go to our website, eresident.gov.de, you can see actually to establish a company and run your company, and there are different service providers. And we want to list your companies there if you can offer services to e-residents. And this is kind of a way for you to attract more customers through this platform, because there will be tens and tens of thousands of companies who need the services from your nations. So please come back there later and chat with us to see whether you can offer services to e-residents also. The final point from my side is that as mostly e-residents pay tax in their home country, the question is what's in it for us. Number one thing, of course, it's economically profitable for us. We can offer our services to e-residents and this generates revenue to our nation. And my belief is that after 3 years we have more e-resident companies than Estonian companies. And after 10 years it's a major source of income to our nation. But the other part of this is that it kind of doesn't hurt us to offer this platform, and I see this as Estonia's gift to the world. I see that this is what Estonia and how Estonia can make the world a better place, because we have the digital society and we can just offer that, and it kind of doesn't add any cost for us. And we see that every nation in the world should have some role to make the world a better place, so this is what we can offer. Follow us, and thank you for your attention.
Wow, Kasper, really very, very exciting. Thank you so much. And amazing to hear that already hundreds and hundreds of companies have been established and the speed just goes up. So I think you will apologize us that we have taken a bit longer than we thought, and we will not give you now time for questions in this room. But I want to ask actually all the speakers to just stand up so that they will again see and recognize you, and we'll give you a good round of applause. So I would kindly ask all of you to address this gentleman during the coffee break, so that indeed the questions you intended to ask would get responses. And I also realize that probably it's going to be a rush to get all the residency now queued up and signed. So use the occasion. And what is my last thing is to give it over and back to Ott to guide us through the next part. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay.
This is small
Thank
present
you.
as well. And gentlemen, you will receive your present also in a second. We will now go to the lunch, but please come back.
Coffee break. Coffee break.
Oh, lunch. Coffee break, yeah. I missed almost lunch, that's why I'm talking about lunch. But yes, we will go to the coffee break. Please be back at 4 o'clock exactly. We will continue. And if you are interested about this e-residency thing, that tomorrow is a business seminar in this building. And he's here, so tomorrow you can contact him as well. So you'll definitely get an access. So enjoy the coffee. Thanks.